Formal education background. So I guess a lot of people don't know what your undergraduate degree was in.
So I was at UCLA in political science and then Harvard Law School.
Okay. So you don't have, you wouldn't consider yourself an expert in sociology?
I mean, I don't consider sociology a particularly expert field, but go ahead. I think I'm able to read a sociological study.
It is a field of study, but so you're not necessarily an expert.
Yes, there are lots of fields of study.
Right. Well, what I'm getting at is there's a lot of topics.
Put it this way, I know a lot less about welding than I do about sociology.
What I'm getting at is that you're not considered an expert in sociology, psychology, gender studies, lesbian dance theory, many of these things that you've brought up tonight.
I know a lot more about all those others than lesbian dance theory. As far as, if you want to take issue with the argument, I would urge you not to use the argument from authority, which is somebody has a PhD by their name, they know what they're talking about. That's a dumb argument.
What I'm trying to get at is that the fact that you have any other further education in any of these topics or any of these fields of study.
I don't need a 7-year degree in sociology, no bullshit when I hear it.
And granted, that's your opinion.
Right, because I'm here, yeah, giving it.
That would mean that you're also offering kind of an unqualified opinion on a lot of these topics.
See, again, you're just making the argument from authority. I don't think slapping a PhD from Ferris State next to your name makes you an expert in all things in the field in which you propose to speak. Okay, the fact is that either my argument's good or my argument's bad. Citing to my credentials is a really bad way of making an argument. It's like it's actually the equivalent of, it's so funny, when people do this, it's the equivalent of actually a religious person saying, citing to the Bible for an argument. I'm a very religious person, right? I mean, see this? It's the yarmulke, okay? I'm a religious person, okay? I never cite to the Bible. The reason I don't cite to the Bible is because that's an argument from authority. Okay, you may not believe the authority to which I'm citing. I don't believe the authority to which you're citing. So you're going to have to make me an argument as to what I'm saying that's wrong instead of just saying I don't have the properly enumerated degree from the institution of your choice.
I'm merely citing academia. If you haven't done any significant study or any type of educational, you haven't established yourself as a PhD or a doctorate in any of these programs, so how can you make a qualified opinion on any of these topics is my question.
Because I have read the studies and I can have an opinion on them.
And that's your opinion and mine was just stated, so thank you.
Yes, that was my opinion.
You've been saying a lot about how like all these people are claiming that they're victims.
Mm-hmm.
For you as a white male, have you ever tried putting yourself in these people's shoes? Have you ever tried to look from their standpoint?
Sure. I mean, but I don't know what that means because every individual has a different standpoint. Colin Powell's kid is not the fellow who just spoke. This idea that the idea that I don't know, when we say put yourself in somebody else's shoes, there's actually a fascinating study about this. It says empathy is bad politics. Sympathy is good politics, empathy is bad politics.
What I mean is, have you ever looked at the world through their eyes? Do you know what it's like to be gay or black or to be discriminated?
Okay, so as far as discrimination, I don't claim victimhood status, even though I was the #1 target of anti-Semitism on the internet last year. Okay, I'm not discriminated against in the United States. Okay, I'm very free here. I do really well. As far as the idea that the best way to do politics, or the best way to make public policy, or the best way to discuss politics in public is to walk in someone else's shoes, see through somebody else's eyes, that's true at a very rudimentary level. You try to understand somebody's problems. But the idea that that is the basis for public policy, in law, they say, there's a phrase in law, it's called hard cases make bad law. Right? The idea is that if you have too much sympathy for the person who's in front of you, you end up making bad overall decisions. And there have been studies on this about empathy in politics. Empathy actually leads to bad policy because you empathize, while you're empathizing for the person whose shoes you're standing in, you're forgetting about the effects of the public policy you're recommending on the other million people the public policy actually impacts. And so, if the implication is that my perspective is coming from a lack of empathy or a lack of sympathy, I utterly disagree. I think that my perspective is coming from the ultimate sympathy, which is I want to see people succeed in the society. And the way to make people fail in the society is by inculcating in them from the time they're 5 that they are destined to fail in a society that discriminates against them.
Miki Konst, founder and executive director of the Accountability Project. All right, so at the beginning, I just want to separate, for the purposes of this discussion, what's happening at the University of Missouri on the race front, which is very charged, And you can understand some upset over what's happened with the race issues. Separate that for today from call the cops on this campus if someone hurts your feelings. If someone hurts your feelings, and that woman at Yale yelling at the professor for saying, I think Halloween costumes should be allowed and we shouldn't be censoring them. How do you sleep at night? I'm going to leave. Good, go. I mean, I look at that. You tell me, Nomiki, because you're going to defend these people.
Of course.
I look at that and say, I can't wait for my kids to get out there in the world against these people. I can't wait.
Well,
they're going to kick some. That's my reaction. Am I wrong?
Well, okay, to be fair, these are not administration, these are students. These are 20-year-olds who are reacting, and it's a very racially charged environment. You know, words matter. And so when that letter was sent on behalf of an administration official, somebody who's supposed to represent the students, to create, you look at the documents that Yale sends out, the application documents, and it's all about having an inclusive community.
This guy was defending Halloween.
Well, he wasn't defending Halloween. He was defending being offensive to a community of people that are being marginalized. I mean, 7% of the Yale...
He was saying if you want to go as Tatiana, the Frog Princess, you should be allowed to.
No. He was acknowledging that someone who shows up in blackface, it's okay, it's a joke.
And you think that should be banned? You should, Halloween, that should be banned. And what if you want a guy who wants to dress like a girl? Should he be banned?
Listen, there are the stereotypes. There's plenty of stereotypes that we have changed over time. Things that would now be totally unacceptable. We had this debate about things 10
gender
years ago.
expression would be offensive if you want. So
Well,
a guy dressed up as a female nurse.
That's not for white people
offensive.
to determine. That's not. These things are not for the people who are doing it to determine. It is for those who feel hurt. If you feel hurt, you
that's
have the
fantastic.
right.
I hope you have young kids like just exactly my kid's age. Ben, you take it. I understand the offense. I understand you go to the race place and what happened with the swastika, but you can't wear the Halloween costume you want unless no one finds it offensive.
Well, now the selectively offended get to run the rest of the country. I mean, this is what we are creating. We are creating a society of panty-waist fascists. What we are creating is a group of people who are oversensitive to everything and then are willing to call the cops as soon as they are offended. It's actually incredible, and it's a violation of the First Amendment, which you saw with a professor from the Mass Communications Department at Missouri telling reporters that they have no right to be there, and at Yale you have students shouting people down. If this is the climate that we're supposed to create, if this is supposed to create openness and tolerance on the campus, I'm missing the openness and tolerance in let's call the police if I'm mildly offended because my feelings have been hurt. I mean, this is creating a country of crazy people. How can you watch this and not go crazy and think that everyone who's involved in it is crazy in the first place?
How about that woman from the communications department, Nomiki?
Listen.
Shutting down the student reporters from filming the protests she was promoting. Guess how you promote them? Put them on
Exactly.
TV.
I do agree with that, and I think that Josh Earnest has said the same thing. There's a very thick line between being politically incorrect and being racist, and words matter. So when a community of people that has been perpetually marginalized at institutions across America over history feels offended, we should acknowledge that. And I think that these protests are a reflection of a community of minorities that feel unacknowledged and not respected. And so, Ben, I read your article today, and I was shocked by the language you used. You were saying that it's time for the right
call the police
to
right now.
fight. Yeah. No, but you read his column.
Evidence. All this is screaming and feelings. How about like a shred of evidence, even for the incidents that actually happened at Missouri that drove this? Really? Where was the police report exactly when it came to, for example, the first N-word incident that led all of this? There was no police report on any of that. In the second incident, at the N-word at the University of Missouri, the administration investigated, and the kid's under investigation. In the third incident with the cop car, with the car hitting the guy.
Let me just ask you this, because we're short on time. You tell me, Nomiki, whether we are training these kids to be little cupcakes who never have to encounter anything offensive, assuming everything you said is offensive. They never have to encounter it because they can call the cops or they can get their administrators fired, or whether it's better to educate them that there are offensive things in life. There are insulting things in life. There are people who will say very incorrect or impolite things about you, politically incorrect things about you, very publicly and in a way that you might feel very offended by. And you have to deal with that in life.
I think people understand that, but I think that, this is a blame the victim situation. We should be ridding the world of bigotry. We should be talking about that rather than blaming it on the victim who feels hurt disrespected on campus, who doesn't feel heard by their administrators.
I love that utopia. It doesn't exist. It's not realistic. It does not exist. Good luck getting rid of all the bigotry.
The victim.
Well, we can
all the
look at
bigotry.
it.
We're just going to wipe the world. We'd love to,
progress.
but it's not reality.
They
I gotta
literally just fired a white guy for being a white guy, and he's the victim.